What's up, what's up? It's your boy Corey B, and I want to talk to y'all about just the different ways that God moves and how he uses loss in our life. He uses loss in our life to teach us so much. It's really incredible the way that God moves and the way that he shapes us and builds us and works in our character and works in our heart, works in our mind. He really molds and develops us. And it's through these challenges, these moments of adversity and this loss and this brokenness. This brokenness that he really reaches us into a new place. He touches our heart in a new way. You know, I was talking with my Aunt Debbie, and it really we were literally just talking on social media, but it really inspired me because she's been sharing a lot lately as my uncle passed. My uncle passed, and as my uncle passed, she's been viewing things a lot differently. And the reality is that through her sharing and her emotions and the different vulnerable moments that she shared on social media about how God's speaking to her, it's really, inspired me to reevaluate how I've been viewing things and how I've been looking at things, because truly God has been working in my life. God's always working, even when we don't get it, even when we don't see it, even when we don't understand or know what's really going on. God's always moving, right? He's always moving and he's always making things happen. But it's in those moments that we cry out to him, that we just see things in a different light and we see things with a different perspective, and we can really understand things differently. My mom suffered from the time she was 16 being ill. When she was 16, she was pulled out of school because she was sick, and at the time, way back then, they didn't know what was wrong with her. She was literally misdiagnosed 3 times before they finally pinpointed that she had Crohn's disease. She had chronic Crohn's disease, and they literally found it in a medical journal. They didn't know what it was or how to treat it. They didn't know what to do, right? These doctors didn't know what to do, and so they're like, well, we're going to figure things out. And my mom, and her, I don't know, her just infinite optimism, the godly heart that she was given. Ultimately, when she looked at things from this perspective, in this light. She's like, you know what? I'm going through these things so someone else doesn't have to. She's like, ultimately, somebody had to be the patient that they learned on, right? They learned a lot by working with my mom. My mom ended up, as a teenager, my mom's she's in her early, mid-30s. And I was a young teenager. I remember I was like 14, 13. I don't know, she had actually joined a support group at the hospital for other Crohn's patients. They had a support group because they were all going through these different stages and these different struggles of how they didn't understand what exactly everything they were going through, and they didn't know why they were going through it, and they didn't know why the doctors didn't understand it better. And this is already nearly 20 years into my mom's diagnoses, right? She's nearly 20 years in, and they're still trying to figure things out. The doctors are still going through these trial and error stages of her treatment. And my mom, she continued to share with the group, she shared with her doctor, and she shared with us all the time. She was like, I faced all of this so that way somebody else didn't have to. My mom was in chronic pain most of her life. But she had the highest pain tolerance of anybody I've ever known in my life. It was unparalleled. Me and my brother had some buddies and stuff that a guy that lived in her apartment that was a good friend of my brother Jason, and he was a friend of mine, but he was real close with Jason, and he would come over and stuff, and he was an ex-Marine. And he was like, yeah, your mom's a Marine. She just never enlisted. Like, she was just that tough. She was on a different level. She would be in chronic pain and just be like, I'm fine. I'm okay. My family needs me. She literally broke her ankle in 3 places. 3 places. This is a crazy story. This is absolutely wild. My mom broke her ankle. She was cleaning the house. I was just a little kid. I was like, I don't know. Couldn't have been more than like 5. But she was vacuuming the house, stubbed her toe, and because for those of you who don't know what Crohn's disease does, it actually deteriorates your bones, and it affects your digestive tract, like all of your intestines, your stomach, your kidneys, it affects all of that, but it also deteriorates your bones quickly. I mean, she was like 20 years old, and she had already been diagnosed with arthritis in all of her joints. I mean, it's like serious. It's absolutely crazy. It just deteriorates your bones. So she stubbed her toe, and like a normal person, she's like, ow, man, that hurt, But she's like, I'm in the middle of vacuuming, can't shake it off and keep going. She like vacuumed the house, cleaned the rest of the house. Then she came and propped up her feet on the coffee table while she was watching one of her stories. And she looked down, and the ball of her foot was purple. It was purple and swole up like a grapefruit, right? And she's like, I should probably go to the doctor. And so she went to the doctor, and the doctor gave her some x-rays and stuff. He was like, we got to get this checked out, gave her x-rays. And then he had her away in the waiting room while he was like going through the x-rays and stuff. And then he came back and he's like, ma'am, how are you still standing right here? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. This is one of Colton's favorite stories. He loves hearing this at bedtime. Like, we share grandma stories at bedtime. They love these. But it was crazy because she's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm standing. Like, it's not comfortable, but I mean, I'm standing. And he's like, no, ma'am, like, I don't understand how you're still standing right there. And she's like, what does that mean? You're kind of freaking me out a little bit. And he told her, he's like, your ankle is broken in 3 different places. What did you do? And she's like, I just stubbed my toe. Like, her bones were that brittle that it shattered. But the crazy thing is not that her bones were so brittle and that she broke her foot, broke her ankle literally by stubbing her toe. But literally the mind-boggling part is that it was uncomfortable to her. Not painful like a normal person. Not painful like you or me. Like, we'd be like, this hurts. This sucks. I'll do something. Like, no. She was just like, this is uncomfortable. I got to clean the house. Like, her pain tolerance, she was used to being in pain. She was used to hurting. She was used to life like that. She just didn't process pain like a normal person. Like, she taught me to be strong. She taught me to be tough. And I have never felt like I am ever going to live up to the amazing person that she was, the amazing strength and power and the amazing influence, like the mother that she was. I mean, I'm not a mother, but I want to be like as good of a father as she was a mother. She was just something else. And she took care of me even as an adult. She took care of me and my brother, my sister. We're grown, and I'm in another city, and she's calling me every day. Like, we didn't miss a day. She called me every day and check up on me, and how's the business going? How's school going? How's this going? How's that going? I'm like trying to grow a business. I'm in school full time, and I'm working nights, and she's just like, how's this? How's that? How's this? Are you sleeping? Are you eating? Are you getting rest? Are you getting nutrition? Are you, she's checking on everything. I mean, she was always taking care of me and making sure I was okay. She'd call me the day before, hey, don't forget, it's your cousin's birthday tomorrow. Silly stuff like that. Like, I depended on her for everything. She was always so proud of me and so impressed by the things I did. And I always felt like I wasn't doing anything impressive. I had these huge goals. Like, my mom taught me from the time I could talk that the word can't wasn't allowed. Like, can't was like a swear word. We would get in trouble. Like, you say can't, you're in trouble. That's it. Like, I mean, we could get soap in the mouth if we said can't. We weren't allowed to say can't because there was nothing that was out of our limits. She taught us that God was with us and there was nothing that we couldn't do. And so I had these huge goals, these huge dreams. I heard stories that she told me. She always shared stories about the companies that she worked for, even when she worked for restaurants. I mean, it didn't matter. Like, she always told me all kinds of stuff. Like, everything mattered. Like, she's like, look, if you're doing a small job or a big job, you got to go in all the way. Like, it mattered what you were doing, right? It like mattered. Like, everything that she was doing mattered. Like, she would be so excited. She's like, I got promoted at this restaurant. You know, I got this happened. She was working in fast food. She worked in retail. I mean, she's like worked everything. She worked as a CNA at a hospital. I mean, she has done everything. She is partnered in businesses. One point, she was partner in a concrete business and a bricklaying company. So I always wanted to take everything that she taught me, every story that she taught me. She taught me about my dad. She had an amazing perspective of my dad. And my dad, to this day, thinks she kind of fluffed stories up to make me feel good about him. But no, she looked at him that way. Like, he worked for a drilling company in Texas. And oil in Texas is a big deal. And this was back in the 80s, right? And so he worked for an oil company. He was drilling, and he was the guy at the top of the derrick who did the manual crank. I mean, he had guns, man. I mean, I wish I had my dad's guns. I mean, like, he was not a big dude, but he was swole. You know what I mean? He was a big dude. And that's because he was up there doing that crank, you know? And so, but she would tell me stories about how, because of the company that he worked for and the way that they were doing drilling in the 80s, and that they had changed something. They had changed, and I can't tell you what exactly he changed or what exactly their company changed, but apparently they changed something at that time in the early 80s about the way they were drilling and the way they were drilling a few years later. And it was something that his company, that the company he was drilling for, out of, you know, McAllen and, you know, up, you know, down south off the coast and stuff, that the way they were doing things, that it changed things. And to her, as big as oil is, and you know, if you're not from Texas, you don't get it. But if you're from Texas, you know what I'm talking about. Oil is like a big deal. It's like a big deal. Like, it's huge. Like, it always has been, always will be. It's like, like if you're in oil in Texas, it's like a big deal. And so, like, the fact that he had been a part of a company that was transitioning and changing the way that they were drilling oil, and that they were looking at things differently after that, she was like, he's like a Texas hero. And I was like, and me growing up in Texas my whole life and being very proud Texan, like, my dad, I'm a proud Texan. My dad was a Texas hero. Like, you know, and dad, like I said, dad thinks that he's like, I did some drilling, but I don't know about being no hero or nothing. And it's like, that's fine, you know, and that's probably not just him being modest. Like, probably, he honestly probably was just, he probably just did his job. You know what I mean? Probably just did his job. But because the company was doing something different, she saw that as important. She was so proud of him. She was so proud of him and me, and like the many stories that she told me, I always looked at him as like he was huge. He was like this larger than life person. He was my hero for a long time. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized that she was my hero. It was the way she saw him that made me idolize him. It was, I wanted her to look at me as a hero. And she always told me that I was her hero, that I saved her life. That, you know, they told her because of her Crohn's she would never have kids. And told her she would never have kids. And she was determined, like, she's like, God called me to be a mom. God called me to be a mom and a wife. Like, I'm going to be a mom and I'm going to be a wife. She had multiple miscarriages, and doctor kept telling her, like, you're not going to carry a baby. It's just not going to happen. And then I have a older sister. She had a daughter named Carolyn. Carolyn died at 2.5 days old. She didn't make it. And they told her that was going to happen. They were like, you're not going to carry it. And she's like, God called me to be a mom. I'm supposed to be a mom. And then she had me. She said I was her miracle baby and that I saved her life. And I never understood what that meant. I was like, what am I doing that saved? When she was sick, she was dying. It's crazy because they said she was gonna die like 3 different times in 12-year span. There's 3 different times that she was in a hospital bed and they said she's not getting out of bed. It's all over. Whatever this lady wants, just give it to her, make her happy. This is all over. This is done deal. And she got up and walked out of that bed every time. And this last time, me and my brother were like, this can't, it's not happening because this is mom. Like she can beat anything. There's nothing she couldn't beat. And this time it wasn't gonna happen though. It wasn't meant to happen. This was her time. God had a plan. I didn't know what it was, and I still don't know what it is, and I still don't understand. Like, I still don't understand why she's not with me. But I carry her with me. She's right here. And she inspires everything I do. I talk about her frequently, and this video right here is almost all about her. Like I said, my Aunt Debbie inspired me to post this particular video, but it's truly mostly about my mom and how God's moved in my life because of my mom. And it's like, I don't know. Last time we didn't believe she was gonna pass, and I remember Corey, he was so little. He was so little. He was like 4. And he was just there with me. He was there with me. We were in our apartment, and we were there for 4.5 days. And finally, I wouldn't leave her side. And then I didn't want to leave her side, and I wasn't going to leave her side for anything. I gave a couple of people a few minutes with her to have a moment alone themselves, but I just didn't want to leave her side. I wanted to be right there next to her. I wanted her to know I was there. And then I remember finally on the 4th day, the last day or whatever, Kimberly's like, we're running out of food. We got to go get some food. So she was like, I'm going to take Mariah and we're going to run to the store and grab some groceries and we're going to make sure everybody has something to eat. I was like, okay. Corey and Colton had been playing on my mom's back porch. And Colton asked me for socks. He's like, Daddy, I need socks. Socks. And I was like, okay. I was like, aren't they right there? They're right there in that bag in the living room. And he was like, no, I don't see any socks. So I looked at my mom. I got up and I went in the living room to grab him some socks. And I helped him put socks on. And I came back. That's all I did was get socks. I came back and she wasn't breathing. Now, some people think maybe she waited for me to step out. Because like maybe I couldn't have handled seeing that. I don't know, maybe. But I was standing next to her bed and I almost didn't know how to move. Like the whole time, I did exactly what Mom had always taught me to do. I went into business mode. Like I was like focused. I have to handle things because that's what Mom would have done. I was like, I'm gonna make her proud. I'm gonna do everything. I like organized everything. I planned everything. I fed everybody. I took care of everything. I was like, I am in this right here, right now. I was like, I'm gonna do everything because that's what Mom would have done. Mom would have done everything. Mom would have taken care of everybody, everything, and not one thing would have slipped past. I don't know how she did it, but she did everything. And so I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take care of everything. And then the minute I noticed she wasn't breathing, I was just standing there and I didn't know what to do. And I called Jason, who was in the living room. I said, Jason, you got it. Jason, come here. And he walked up next to me and he just, like I think he knew. As soon as he looked at her, he just walked in and I was like, bro. And he was like, she's like, and I was like, no, she's not with us, man. I was like, That's it. That's it. And Corey comes in, and I don't even think he knew what was going on, but he grabbed me by the hand, and he held my hand. He's like looked up, and he grabbed my hand, and he held onto my hand. And I just held his hand. I didn't know what to say or do. I just stood there. And he just looked up, and he's like, Daddy? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm here for you, Daddy. How did he know to say that? Like, how did he know? And every 15, 20 minutes for the rest of the day, he just kept walking up. I'm here for you, Daddy. How do you know? That's God. That's God. God put an angel with my little boy. And in the minute that I was trying to do everything I could to make Mom proud, I almost broke. And he was there. He saved me. He saved me. And that's not discounting anything that Kimberly did or Colton did or Jason. Like, everybody was there for me. Everybody really supported me. Everybody was, whatever we could do, Corey, whatever, we're here with you. You're not alone. We're all in this. Kimberly was incredible. She just dove in and was like, I'm a nurse. Like, I got your mom. I got her. I got Mom. I'm here. But Corey just somehow, that's God. That's God. And I was sharing with my Aunt Debbie, it's like, I always wanted to make Mom proud, and I felt like I was always falling short of all these big goals and big dreams and big things I was building towards and planning, and I had in motion, and I was just always not quite there. And I feel like I'm in a whole new place now, and I feel like I've finally done some amazing things in my life with my boys, with Kimberly. Amazing journey that we've been on. The business I've built, the business I've created, the life that we have, everything that we're doing. She'd be so proud of me. She was always so proud of me, and I always felt like I hadn't done anything yet. I'm not there yet, Mom. You don't have to be proud. I haven't done it yet. God teaches us through these losses. Like, it was through the loss of Mom, I've seen God in a whole new way. I know I got huge, bigger goals now than I ever did before. I'm fighting for them with everything I've got. I'm fighting for my family with everything I've got. I'm building our family on the rock, on the Word of God. I'm fighting for a closeness with God and a relationship and a connection with Him. And I'm striving to use my business and my family to minister to the community around us. God has bigger goals and bigger plans than I could have ever dreamed of, and it's through that loss that I get it. It's through that loss that I know He's in control. It's through that loss that I know He has bigger plans. It's through that loss that the things here in the earth and in the world around us, even our family, even our friends, even everything we touch, we work on, we build our business, our finances. All of this is temporary. It's the legacy that we leave behind. It's the way we touch people, the influence we have on them, the way we share God, the way we share love and compassion and grace. I want to be a better father. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better brother, a better son, a better friend, a better companion, and a better warrior for Christ. I want all of that. And I'm going to continue to give everything I've got to get there. Most of us, if you're watching this, you've experienced loss. And my heart goes out to you. it doesn't ever get easier. It actually just, you have better ways of coping with it, that's all. You have better ways of coping with it, but it never really gets easier. I had a friend tell me once that you have a hole in your heart. Something's missing because you gave a special piece of your heart to that person that you lost, and that spot can never be filled. But never forget that you're not alone. God's with you. And he's teaching you, and he's strengthening you, and he's building you up. And this is going to make you a better person than you were before. So I hope that resonates with y'all. I hope that gives you some comfort and some peace. And just know that I love and appreciate all y'all. Till next time, it's your boy, and I'm out.